What's up, kinfolk? Welcome to the #1 ranked show sponsored by DirecTV Stream. I'm your host, RJ Young. Thank you for watching on the Fox Sports app, YouTube, Twitter, or listening wherever you get your podcast. Today, we're going to talk through the most misunderstood top 25 ranking in the entire world. We're also going to predict what the CFP committee will do and present midpoint season tiers. Let's go! It's the #1 ranked show. We live in a twilight world. The tenets of college football have been shaken, and so have mine. The best example of the Jerry Lee Lewis whole lot of shaking going on is unranked Texas A&M knocking off undefeated juggernaut and formerly #1 Alabama. Never mind that ampersand U began the season ranked #6 in the country. The ampersand U Farmers knocked off the Tide with their backup quarterback and a Heisman frontrunner at quarterback for Alabama. Another example, though, of you shook me all night long is perhaps just who is left among the undefeated teams. Who'd have thought? Among Oklahoma, Ohio State, and Alabama, only the Sooners would be bowl eligible after week 6. That Coastal Carolina, San Diego State, and Texas San Antonio would boast more wins than Texas, LSU, and Clemson. Look, I believe the top 25 and these tiers that I'm going to give you a little bit later on should reflect results on the field. I believe that every one of the 130 FBS teams deserves to begin the season with a definitive path to winning the national title. I think I've made it clear that I believe in a 16-team college football playoff, and I rank teams based on what I want the sport to look like. Wins matter to me. What I learned is that the public will not allow a #3 Oklahoma State with 2 back-to-back wins against formerly AP top 25 teams. It will allow a #6 Ohio State without a win against a ranked opponent to be ranked 3 spots ahead of the #9 Oregon team the Buckeyes lost to just a month ago. And that's not a hypothetical comparison. It's the week 7 AP poll. And you know what? My rankings aren't so dissimilar from the AP. We both agree that Georgia and Iowa are the #1 and #2 teams in the country. If I simply wanted to troll you, I'd rank Coastal Carolina, Southern Methodist, Texas San Antonio, and Cincinnati the #1, #2, #3, and #4 teams in the country and call that my college football playoff. So no, I don't want to troll you. As for the #3 team, allow me this blind resume test. Remove the jerseys, remove the logos, remove the recruiting rankings, remove the coaches, remove the conferences. Just look at what these teams have done so far this season. Team A has a 5-0 record with 2 AP top 25 wins. Team B has a 4-1 record with 0 top 25 wins. I'll give you a beat to think about who those teams might be. Okay, Team A is Oklahoma State, and Team B is Ohio State. I ranked Oklahoma State #3, and I ranked Ohio State #20. I didn't rank Ohio State #20 to troll you. I ranked Ohio State #20 because there are teams who are still undefeated or have at least one top 25 win along with the 1 loss. Ohio State, again, doesn't have a top 25 win and perhaps doesn't need to be ranked at all. But that's not the conversation you want to have. However, I refuse to say Oregon is a worse football team than Ohio State because not only does Oregon have a top 25 win, it has a top 25 win on the road head-to-head against Ohio State. Playing the games, winning the games has to matter. Unless you want to throw out the AP rankings and the very idea that being undefeated matters more than not. You have to admit Oklahoma State has performed better than Ohio State thus far. The only way you could disagree is to say that playing the games doesn't even matter. The AP rankings are necessary too. The voters are all carefully picked by the Associated Press, and there are more than 60 of them from across the country with varying opinions based on, among other things, an eye test that I often think is wrong. But I also think it's a zero-sum game for ranked teams, especially those at the bottom. If you're a top 20 to 25 team, a loss means you're probably not ranked the following week. However, at the time your opponent beat you, we thought you were good. That has to matter. Another reason the AP rankings are necessary is because they give us a good understanding and jumping off point, especially in the preseason, for who we think is good among those 130 teams. It's important to know which we should probably focus on too, and which deserve more attention. However, caveat here, as always, the longer you go into the season without losing, the more attention you're going to receive, which leads me back to playing the games has to matter. The schedule is the schedule. The kids can only play who is on their schedule. And I can't look at an undefeated Cincinnati, Coastal Carolina, Southern Methodist, San Diego State, or Texas San Antonio in the face and tell those kids they aren't good enough to play for a national championship, but one-loss teams like the one in Tuscaloosa are? And I refused to do that. I don't just love this sport. I live this sport. I live this job. I love it. And I will fight for a fairer way to decide who the national champion is because it's what's right. So my rankings aren't going to change. What I'm about to discuss with you now, though, is what I think the College Football Playoff Selection Committee will do, while I explain to you why I think some of what the CFP committee will do is utterly ridiculous. So rather than go through the top 25 again, I'm going to go through the top 10 teams as I think the playoff committee would rank them, and also why I think it's asinine to continue to do it this way. Okay. At number 10, I have Coastal Carolina. They are 6-0. We will talk with head coach Jamey Chadwell here in a little bit. In my RJ ranking, which is based almost exclusively on results, I also have them at number 10. Hey, check that out. We would probably agree on that. The Shots have scored at least 49 points in 5 of their 6 games this season and averaged 48.83 points per game. That is not a small number. And I got some more for you on Coastal as we get closer to our Jamey Chadwell interview a little later on the show. At number 9, I have Kentucky. That's what I think the playoff committee would do at 6-0. In the RJ ranking, I have them at number 5. UK is 6-0 for the first time since 1950. Like Cincy, the Wildcats have an AP top 10 win notched against Florida. You'll remember I thought Florida was fraudulent, but the AP and you did not. I went with the AP, just as I have been going the whole time in ranking these teams based on their resumes, okay? Kentucky, I have at 5. 9 is where I think the College Football Playoff Selection Committee would put them. At number 8, I have Michigan, 6-0, right? I also, in the RJ ranking, not so dissimilar, had them at 8. Now, why would I have them at 8? They're undefeated, but they also don't have a top 25 win. But the way they've been playing football is also important. At number 7, I have Michigan State. They are 6-0. They also have a top 25 win. Now, in the RJ ranking, I have them at number 7. CFP, I think they would put them at 7. RJ, I think they would put them at 7. It's not that dissimilar. It doesn't matter to me that Miami is no longer the football team that we thought they were. It matters to me that we thought they were good. It has to matter. At number 6, I think that the CFP would put Ohio State. Again, RJ, I have them at 20. They are 4-1. They do not have a single top 25 win. The only top 25 opponent they faced, they lost to. And their signature win so far is Maryland. Okay? We thought Maryland was good. Hell, I had Maryland ranked, but y'all didn't by the time they lost to Iowa and then to the Buckeyes. The Buckeyes have looked spectacular, though, since losing to Oregon. They still haven't beaten a single ranked top 25 team, but they keep winning. It's going to be okay. The season's only half done, and your schedule is backloaded. Buckeyes, calm down. Now, Kerry Combs was relieved of his defensive play calling duties, and Matt Barnes was given those duties. I actually had to really go and make sure that Matt Barnes was the DC because it was a very big deal. Plus, Matt Barnes be on all the smoke, talking all the noise. You get what I'm saying? Some of y'all get that joke, some of y'all don't, and if you don't, it's fine. But they've been playing outstanding football. Since giving up 35 to Oregon, Ohio State has given up 27, 13, and 7 points respectively in games, and average just over 14 points a game against, right? That's a really good number. But again, they ain't played nobody that has been ranked. You got a Michigan, you got a Michigan State, you got a Penn State all coming up. Beat them up, get to the Big Ten championship, finish with a one-loss as a one-loss Big Ten champion, and then let's see what it is. Because at number 5, I think that the CFP committee would have Cincinnati. They are 6-0. In the RJ, I have them at number 4. Cincy has a top 10 win on the road against a previously undefeated Notre Dame we all thought was good. It has to matter. But another reason I think that the CFP would have Cincinnati at number 5 is because it's Cincinnati. They have proven over and over again they don't give a good darn about your Group of 5 team being undefeated. Hello, 2017 Central Florida. How about 2020 Cincinnati? How about San Jose State last year before the bowl season? I can keep going here. This is the point. At number 4, I think they'd have my Oklahoma Sooners, who are 6-0. I have the Sooners at 6. I'm saying the CFP would have them at 4. So take that homer stuff and stuff it. This was the first AP top 25 win of the season for the Sooners last week against Texas, who is barely a top 25 team. Spencer Rattler got benched during this game. We saw a true freshman named Caleb Williams put on his cape and prove that Superman is here full time. And we don't know if Oklahoma is good enough, even as an undefeated team, to give the number 3, number 2, number 1 teams, even in the CFP's ranking, a game, because I'm loud about it, you loud about it. My Oklahoma Sooners have done nothing in the playoff. Nothing. Hell, we had a 17-point lead against Georgia, and we lost that too. All right? And I'm here to tell you, ain't nobody gonna be here for no one-loss Oklahoma getting into the CFP again. It ain't gonna happen. It's happened too many times. People are tired of getting burned. That's another reason why the committee is kind of getting on my nerves already. Number 3, I got Alabama. They are 5-1. Okay? In the RJ, I should have them 12. Because I goofed on Sunday, right? I was up at 2:30 in the morning trying to do this thing. I'm moving people around. I forgot about Southern Methodist being 6-0. They would be my number 11 team because they are undefeated. Alabama lost. Now, the loss is the first in 101 games against an unranked opponent, right? This is also the first time that we've seen an assistant of Nick Saban beat him, snapping a 24-game win streak that he's had against his assistants and a 19 straight game win streak for the Tide. However, Alabama has 3 ranked wins in 6 games. That's more than any other one-loss team in the country. Again, one-loss team in the country, all right? Being undefeated is hard in this sport. And the longer you can go undefeated, the more respect you should garner. Number 2, I got Iowa. They are 6-0. I have them at 2. CFP got them at 2. Iowa has defeated 3 top 25 teams and 2 top 10 teams in 6 games. Again, Hawkeyes 6-0 for the first time since 2015. Problem is, when you watch them, you're not convinced. Forget you're being convinced. What's the scoreboard say? Number 1, we got Georgia. We all agree. Number 1 team in the country. Beating people like they stole something. Got this Pentagon as a defense. The Department of Defense. Holding ranked teams to a combined score of 81-13. 13 points. That's what your ranked opponents were doing against them. Come on, man. Okay. Now that we have been through our top 10 teams as the CFP would look at them, and I'm also telling you how it is that I am looking at the sport and how those things are different, I want to actually lay this on you. 2019 Joe Burrow averaged 10.8 yards per attempt. He won the Heisman. In 2020, Mac Jones at Alabama, he averaged 11.2 yards per attempt. He finished third in the Heisman and got the most votes by any quarterback in 2020. 2021, Coastal Carolina's Grayson McCall is averaging 13.6 yards per attempt. He's completing 79.82% of his passes. He's thrown 14 tutties, 1 interception. If he keeps this up, shouldn't he be a front runner to win the Heisman Trophy? How about this? In 2019, this team averaged 48.4 points per game. Held opponents to 21.9. That's the 2019 team, okay? The 2020 team averaged 48.83 points per game. Held opponents to 19.4. That's the 2020 team. The 2019 team is LSU. The 2020 team is Alabama. 2021, this team is putting up 8 points a game, holding teams to 15 flat. No, that is Coastal friggin' Carolina. Okay? I'm saying you need to give this team its respect. They're putting up 263.5 yards per game rushing. LSU put up 166.8. Alabama put up 168.3. In 2019, LSU puts up 7.89 yards per play. 2020, Alabama puts up 8.31 yards per play. 2021, Coastal Carolina put up 8.8 yards per play through half this season. LSU and Alabama finished the season undefeated and with college football playoff national titles respectively. Coastal Carolina is undefeated. Now, will the Shots finish the season undefeated? Who could know? We'll find out. But if they do, they deserve the right to play until they lose. And there are ways to ensure that. That's why this is really frustrating for me. We just refuse to allow them. But I wanted to talk with Jamey Chadwell about, well, what if we did? Take a listen to what he had to say. I'm joined by Coastal Carolina head coach Jamey Chadwell. Coach, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you today?
I'm good, sir. So I got on a t-shirt and I'm going to ask you if you can't read my t-shirt. You don't have to read it loud or anything. I just want to get your thoughts on what you see.
You cow.
So now that you've seen it, Coach, what are your thoughts on expanding the playoff?
Well, my stance hadn't changed. I'm for it, obviously. Now with the expansion of the SEC and this other stuff, who knows what's going to happen. But I think what you're seeing, especially this year, if you look at the group of 5, you look at Cincinnati, how well they're playing, I think it's merited. I think there's some really good teams throughout this country that never really get the opportunity to have that chance. And if you expand it, then you're guaranteeing every year there's a chance for somebody to get in that dance. And once you're at the dance, who knows who's going to boogie down, right? And that's the great thing about it.
Well, Coach, it's interesting to put it that way, right? Because I do a ranking here at Fox every week. And one of the things I take into account is who plays whom and what they're doing when they play them, right? In addition to how good you look. So I'm going to play some fun with numbers here, Coach, and I'll just get your thoughts on these. 2019, LSU averages 7.89 yards per play. 2020, Alabama averages 8.31 yards per play. 2021, Coastal Carolina is averaging 8.8 yards per play. Now, those last 2 teams, they played for and won a national championship. I'm saying, what else do you think your boys have to do to convince people that you're good enough after winning a Sun Belt championship? We're anticipating an undefeated season here to play in that dance in a 14 playoff, let alone an expanded one.
Well, the thing I have learned now being at this level is you've got to do it more than 1 year for sure. I think you look back in the past, some teams that had great years, they want to see if you can do it again and again. That's what we're in right now. It's what we're trying to do, and this next stretch of games for us is really going to prove how good we are. We obviously think we've got a really good team, but I think America or whoever right now just sort of, hey, you're not playing nobody. That's what we hear all the time. You're not playing nobody, not playing nobody. So we're going to be playing some people here coming up. And so we'll see how we do, and I like our team. I'm not saying we can get beat by those teams as well. They're good teams. I think we got to continue to do it and do it each week. And then eventually people, all right, hey, they are for real. Because right now everybody thinks it's just a one-hit wonder or it was the COVID year. I mean, that's, we hear that all the time. I'm sure you don't, but that's all we get told all the time is you're a one-hit wonder and it was COVID, this or that. And so we've used that as sort of a motivation this year to go out and play at a high level.
When we spoke over the summer, one of the things that I was high on, that you were high on, is you had a bunch of kids that came back because they had some more they wanted to play for and some more they wanted to prove. And one of those guys that has the benefit of that experience last year, but also the benefit of those veterans returning, is GRAYSON McCall. And I was looking at the numbers for him, 79%, 79.8, so doggone near 80% completion percentage, 14 TDs through the air, 1 pick. Y'all put up 263 yards rushing a game. If nothing else, right, because we know that the Heisman Trophy is more of a pageant contest than most other things. Don't you think that maybe that kid deserves a little recognition on that front?
Well, I do. And the reason why I say that is, you look at some of these other people that were getting pushed forward here or there, and they're maybe not playing to the level that they were supposed to, at least right now. Now there's some people that have, the running back at Michigan State's jumped out of nowhere and he's doing real well and he's getting which he deserves. He's having a great year. But if you look statistically where Grayson's at, if you look at his numbers, you compared against the other people, I mean, he's putting up great numbers from a completion standpoint, from an efficiency standpoint, and also from a winning standpoint. The Heisman is typically about winning. And we're doing that. It's not typically, and we're beating teams, and it's not like we're barely beating them either, and he's playing well and he's helping us play at a high level. And again, I think these next couple of weeks for sure too is really going to maybe push him to a point where people might start considering that a little bit, because he's definitely, and what you would think the Heisman's traditionally about. Does he lead? Is he helping that team be their best self? Is he putting up astronomical numbers from a standpoint of efficiency, pass completion, all these things? And he is, and to me, I hope more people take notice of that, because that means we're winning still. But also he's deserving of that, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's wild to me, because as a college football fan and a purveyor of the sport, one of the things that I stand for is I want to have all 130 FBS teams have a road to win a national championship, like definitively. If you win games, you have an opportunity to play for this thing, because I can't look at your kids in particular at Conway and say, hey, you went undefeated, but I don't think you're any good. I'm going, wait a second, how does that go with what we believe the sport is supposed to be about? And it's supposed to be what that scoreboard does. And then to take into account a guy like GRAYSON McCall, because you mentioned Kenneth Walker III up at Michigan State. They're also undefeated. But again, I would like nothing more than to see what y'all might have against a Big Ten team like that had they gone undefeated. And I wonder what else we're going to have to do to try to get the sport going in that sort of direction. I'll put it to you, Coach, as a guy who is hearing this all the time. What do you think you have to do as an administrator, as a purveyor of the sport, as a fan of the sport, let alone be a coach of a football team that just wins games?
Well, I think truthfully, to me, the only way it's ever going to get to a situation where a team like us or whoever, name it, at the G5 level has a chance, is almost how we did our BYU game last year. I think you almost have bracket busters, so to speak, towards the end where like this year. I mean, who would love to see us in Cincinnati right now play a game? I bet.
Oh boy.
A lot across the country. Yeah, people would love to see that, and BYU before they got beat again, let's. So to me, if there's going to be a legitimate chance, and what is there? Let's say there's 3 to 4 teams out of the G5 every year that might have a legitimate chance to be a really good football team. Let's say there's 4. Well, let's figure out how we can put those 4 together somehow, however it works out. And hey, the best of that group, man, they're in. They get their chance because they've proven against their conference schedule and against the best that G5 has to offer. And then that gives you a chance to go in there. To me, I think that's the only way legitimately you're going to have a chance, because if you just keep it the way it is now, your schedule is so good where a Cincinnati is playing well and they get a Notre Dame on their schedule and they get, they got another Power 5, I think, somebody else that allows them to where people take notice and say, hey, they are legit. Let's give them a chance. Because right now they seem like they're in a driver's seat to maybe make it, which is good. But the schedule worked out and all those things have worked out in their favor. You'd hope that there's a year, even if the schedule doesn't work out, that they still could do that if they have a good year because of the way they lay out the land of the, the expansion or the football playoff or whatever it may be. So to me, I think you got to have bracket busters if you legitimately want to give a team a shot every year.
See, you're much kinder than me, right? You're willing to put the G5s against each other and have them play for the right to get in. I'm saying we got 10 FBS conferences with 10 league titles. That means we got 10 teams that ought to be automatic qualifiers, and then you get your 16. But I'm also interested in this point that you make about Cincinnati and Coastal. I would add Southern Methodist, Texas San Antone. There's a couple of teams that are still undefeated here with opportunities to run the table. And that was one of the things that was bugging the heck out of me last year is before we went into the bowl season, I want to say we had 5 or 6 teams that were undefeated, and we were already willing to put 1 and even 2 lost teams into a playoff for a national championship. And I'm going, are we playing games for a reason here? And that's really what this is about for me. I think that the game should matter and the scoreboard should matter. Coach, I'd be remiss if I asked, are you guys getting healthy this week, or are you just trying to hold your water until you can go play somebody else?
No, our open date here is coming at a good time. We've been a couple weeks. I think, we've been banged up, had some guys that were not 100% going into the game, and trying to make sure that you recover those guys, you get as healthy as you can. Our open date's a little unique. Normally you play on a Saturday and then you don't play again for a following Saturday. Well, we played Thursday, but then we play Wednesday. So our open date's a little unique as far as that weekend off. And so we're trying to make sure that our guys get a good chance to recover, get healthy, and then get ready for the next game. But it's coming at a good time, 6 games, and right in the middle of it. And you got, and our toughest 6 are our next ones. And so it's going to be a nice opportunity for us to just get as healthy as we can for this stretch run.
Well, one more question about the playoff, Coach, if you will allow me. This number, 12 games that we play, we expanded that, I want to say, about a dozen years ago. Do you ever fear that playing 15, 16 games is too much for your kids?
Well, you know what? I've not put, to be honest with you, I've not put tons of thought into it. But see, if you're a team that has to play that many without some time off and all those things, it can wear on you, And so I think too, you got to remember what to me makes it challenging is I think you can play 15. FCS does it, right? They play 12 or they play 16 if but you gotta make sure that you figure out how, in my opinion, what makes it hard for a student is because you're going to class and it's not like you're a professional where you're taking care of your body all day long with all these high tech, all this stuff, and then getting able to play the game every Sunday. You got a lot, so much more stuff going on. But I do have a concern as far as what is too many, for a young person. But also I do know if you space it out right, if you handle it the right way, and with all the new ways they're making you practice and, hey, limiting this, limiting that, they're doing everything to help your body for a long run. And so I think it's feasible. I think you can lay it out and make it work. I would not want that to be the deciding factor of why you don't. That's too many games. I don't think that's the reason why. If you're not going to expand it, that's not the reason. That's just a way to throw something off. I think you can make it work because lower levels make it work all the time. You just got to be smart about when you do it and how you do it. And maybe even you start playing a little bit earlier. Maybe you don't start September. Maybe start towards maybe the last week of August. Give yourself a little bit, another bye week in there where you get you healthy. I think there's ways around it.
Well, you mentioned it twice. I'm just going to say it, folks. It's 2014 playoff in the FCS, okay? It's not that big a deal. They make it work. Coach, last question I have for you. How is your mullet maintenance going about? What do you do to keep it up?
Well, I tell you, it's been growing pretty good. I've been trying to trim it once ever so often because it does. I tell you, I get tired of it sometimes when I get my hair wet and I start saying, "What is that?" And it's right there hanging on my neck. I try to shave and it's in my way of shaving my face. And so, but I try to make it look pretty good. I'll shampoo it every couple days. I'm not every day. I got some nice strawberry VO5 that I put on it that makes it smell nice, and so it's flowing well. It's undefeated right now, so hopefully we can keep it going.
I like it, Coach. I like it a lot. Coastal Carolina head coach Jamey Chadwell, friend of the show, and I so appreciate your time here today, Coach. Good luck the rest of the way.
Hey, I appreciate you having me on. Looking forward to the next time.
Yes, sir. Jamey Chadwell is awesome. My thanks for the coach joining us here on the #1 ranked show, especially during the season. I know what a chore that is. And his Chanticleers are 6-0, And I hope they go 12-0, 13-0, and make the college football playoff. But we live in this world, right? With the college football playoff, well, a couple weeks out, really, when we're talking about the rankings, and the season at the midway point, I thought it'd be worth taking a look at which teams stand the best chance to win the national title this season by separating them into tiers. The tiers, like the rankings, are based, on their eye test, not mine, playoff predictor, their resume, and their remaining schedule. Basically, this is another way of saying what I think the CFP committee is going to do. Not the world I want to live in. So the first tier, you'll see Georgia. They got Jordan Davis at nose tackle. He's the best player in the country right now. No one has an answer for him at the nose, and he's flanked by an outstanding group that demolished a damn good Arkansas without its starting quarterback. The Bulldogs are putting on the best defensive performance by any team since 2011. In fact, the last two national champions have held teams to 21.9 and 19.4 points per game, respectively. UGA has allowed a paltry 5.5 through a half season. Goodness. All right, they are in a tier unto themselves. Number 2 tier, I got Alabama, who the AP has at number 5, Ohio State, who the AP has at number 6, Iowa, who the AP has at number 2, and Cincinnati, who the AP has at number 3, which is sort of surprising for me. If Bama wins out, the committee is going to put them in this game, right? They're going to put them in the playoff. The same is true of Ohio State and Iowa. It's Cincinnati that has no margin for error here, though the AP has decided it's a good football team since whooping Notre Dame on the road. All right. The third tier, I got Oklahoma, who the AP has at 4, Michigan State, who the AP has at 10, Michigan, who the AP has at 8, and Kentucky, who the AP has at 11. I don't think my Sooners can afford a slip. They've been selected to play in the Invitational too often while playing competitively only once as a one-loss team. However, if OU wins out, they're going to get in. I don't think Michigan State, Michigan, or Kentucky are good enough to beat Ohio State, but I didn't think that Oregon was good enough to beat Ohio State. Alabama, or Georgia for that matter, presently. If I'm wrong, I'll be wrong, like most of you. And they will have earned more than our respect. They will have earned an undefeated run that culminates in a league title, which means they'll be playing in the playoff. Okay, and in the 4th tier, I got Oklahoma State, who the AP has at 12, Coastal Carolina, who the AP has at 15, Wake Forest, who the AP has at 16, even though they're an undefeated Power 5, SMU, who the AP has at 23, Penn State, who the AP has at 7, Oregon, who the AP has at 9, and Arizona State, who the AP has at 18. All right. Oklahoma State has the easiest road to the playoff, all things considered. If they win out, which I doubt, they'll get in because they play in a conference with Texas and Oklahoma. Take advantage of that while it lasts and make this season count if you can. Historically, Oklahoma owns the Bedlam rivalry like an old couch. No one will come take off your front lawn because they simply do not want it. And the Pokes still got to overcome Texas this weekend. It's the big noon game. Shout out. If we're matching resumes with results, Oklahoma State is a tier 2 team because of its 2 AP top 25 wins and its 5-0 record. But since we're looking right now at their Jimmys stacked against others' Joes, as much as we're looking at their resumes, we're sticking them in the tier 4. That is what the committee is going to do. I doubt Penn State can get past Michigan State, Michigan, and Ohio State to earn a rematch in the B1G West, against the B1G West, favorite Iowa. But a road to the playoff is still there for the Nittany Lions if they can take advantage of it. Coastal doesn't get enough respect to make the playoff from folks not named RJ on a national front. Just way it is. And to earn an invitation without a bunch of teams ranking in front of them is going to be hard, to put it mildly. Neither does Southern Methodist, even if they beat current number 3 Cincinnati in the AP and are the undefeated American Athletic Conference champions. Do you hear what I just said? That we would put a Cincinnati into the playoff undefeated, but not a Southern Methodist team that will have beat them in a conference championship game. It's stupid. Wake Forest doesn't have a ranked opponent left Well, I take that back. They got one ranked opponent left, right? Depending on how you look at North Carolina State, nor the respective voters, and they really aren't likely to get any respect from the committee. Though, I think it's interesting to ask this. Would you put an undefeated Group of 5 champion like Cincinnati, Coastal, or SMU into the playoff over an undefeated Power 5 champion, Wake Forest, with the one top 25 win against NC State? Again, it's worth discussing. Their last remaining top 25 matchup right now is NC State. Okay? That's one top 25 win. That's basically on par with Cincinnati, except they play in a Power 5 conference. Interestingly, though, the last 4 games on Wake's schedule are its toughest. Okay? It's not just North Carolina State. It's North Carolina. It's Clemson. It's Boston College. They should get some credit for that, no? And, of course, there's the Pac-12. I think only if Oregon and Arizona State meet in the league title game does the conference stand a chance at playing in the playoff. Add to this, Oregon still has that Ohio State win in their back pocket, and ASU just beat the same Stanford team that knocked off the Ducks at the Farm. That twice removed Super Saiyan transitive energy already gives ASU a victory over Ohio State. If the Sun Devils beat a one-loss Oregon in the title game, the playoff puzzle might well be another example of a need to expand the playoff, you cowards, quickly. Now, check this out. I did not include undefeated Texas San Antonio here because, frankly, I don't believe the committee would put an undefeated Conference USA champion in the playoff this season. Again, it doesn't matter that I believe they deserve a shot at the title. It matters that the committee and the public, you for that matter, simply will not abide such a thing, even if the dude probably would. So that's where we are. That's our show for today. The number 1 ranked show is hosted by me, RJ Young. Thank you to our sponsor, DirecTV Stream. Our lead producer is Catherine Donnelly. Our director is John Marcus. Our social media manager is Javion Duncan. Our lead of screening is Rachel Cohn. And our executive producer is Kristen Herlihy. That is it for me. Deuces.